Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Lorcana video. Today we are continuing with the Shimmering Skies tier list. Up next is Emerald. We are going to be doing things a little bit differently in this one though. Honestly, editing these super long videos is making me want to tear my hair out. So let's try to condense it a little bit by doing it like this. So this time around, I just thought everything through beforehand and figured out kind of what I thought about each card and put them all into the tier list already so that I'm not just kind of like word vomiting and just thinking things on the fly. I think this will condense things a little bit, a lot of it, and we're gonna get through it really quickly. And then I'll skim over some of the cards that don't really matter too much, and really like things that I thought specifically about, I will kind of go over them a little bit more. But yeah, definitely if your eyes are wandering, you're probably already having some thoughts, because yeah, I think I have one or two hot takes here. So right off the bat, for sure, I'm just going to go briefly over some of the D tier and maybe lower C tier cards, just because I think a lot of them are just either really bad or mediocre, and I didn't think very highly of them, so I just kind of dropped them down there. But yeah, very bottom, I put Night Howler Rage. That's just because it's basically the Beast is Mine, which is a card we had in set 1. The only difference is it gives you a draw. It costs exactly the same. It's also an action. It can't be sung, and all it does is give something reckless. I mean, I didn't like it back in set 1. I still don't like it now. I don't think they did enough for it to be good. So yeah, we're gonna keep it down there. Scroop is also down here. She's a 3-cost, uninkable, evasive, 2/1, lures for 2. Ability is when you play this character, you may pay 3 to banish chosen damage character. The effect is kind of cool, but it's a really high cost to play it, and it's not attached to a very good body. It's only a 2/1. Effectively, like, I'm probably not gonna be playing this on without using its effect, and that's just a 6 cost for a 2/1. I think that hurts too much. It's also still uninkable. I think the downsides of this just far outweigh the good sides. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this ability has some merit, but we have this ability already attached to the Ring the Bell card, which is just an action, but I'd rather play that. I think it's inkable if I remember correctly, so yeah, definitely rather play that. Flora, maybe she belongs more in the C tier. She's kind of just more like a vanilla card for me, but I just didn't like her ability. Yeah, she's probably more a C tier card, but I put her here on first look. But Ulf the Mime, he is just like the Ariel on human legs from set 1. He just can't sing. It's a cool mechanic, but I don't think it's really playable. I like to have the option to sing on my cards, and his stats don't really warrant having this. And I also have Prince Philip down here in D tier. Reason being, he is expensive. His ability, okay, let's just go over him a little bit. He's a 7-cost, inkable, 3/9, lures for 3. His ability is when you play this character, banish chosen opposing dragon. We again have this specific dragon slaying card, which is very nice, very thematic, but it's just targeting such a small amount of cards that this might see play if we have like a dragon that just shows up like the top deck has a dragon that we have to remove. But even like Maleficent Dragon, I mean, it's nice to hit Maleficent Dragon, but it's not priority enough to have cards specifically hitting dragons for it. But his other ability is when he challenges a damaged character, ready this character after the challenge. That's cute, but I'd rather use something else instead. I think, especially since he is a lore for 3 card, I'd rather him not be challenging. I'd rather be questing with him. So yeah, I don't think he does enough. I'm gonna put him down here as well. C tier, we have a bunch of vanillas. Actually, looking at this, Zazu's evasive. He probably belongs a bit higher, like above probably all of these other cards. But yeah, I have Fauna. She's just a regular vanilla card. Ed is a 3-cost, uninkable. He's a 2/3 that lures for 1. Ability, when you play this character, you may deal 2 damage to a chosen damage character. If this, because it looks like Emerald is getting this kind of theme that we're working with damaged characters. The Hyenas like it. I think Robin Hood also likes it. I know the Scar also, the one here at the top of C tier, likes it. But yeah, I think Ed being uninkable kind of hurts him here. Maybe he shouldn't be this low, but his ability is kind of nice, but it's very specific. Truthfully, if this like damaged archetype is pretty good, this card might be a little better. His stat line I don't really like too well though, so that's mainly the reason he's down here. Above him I have Bonsai. He is just a vanilla. He's 3/2 that lures for 2. Nice for the hyenas. With all these emerging hyenas, we're also maybe getting a little bit of this hyena archetype going too. So maybe nice if we get enough good ones. And I mean, we see some of the hyenas I think are pretty good. I have them up in B tier, but not sure yet how great it's going to be. The next one might be a little contentious. I know a lot of people are hyping up this card, Prince John's Mirror. It is a 3-cost inkable ability. If you have a character named Prince John in play, you may pay 1 less to play this item. That's just a little nice thing if you're also playing Prince John. And its ability is a feeling of power at the end of each opponent's turn. If they have more than 3 cards in their hand, they discard until they have 3 cards. So a lot of people are wailing about this because we just lost Bucky. We just lost a really annoying making you discard card. And this card comes out swinging. And people are worried because they have just spent a whole set discarding and they just don't want to see it. It is nice that it gets a little discount with Prince John just because, and it combos pretty well with it, where if it makes your opponent discard a bunch of cards, you get a lot of draws on that turn. Looking at it though, I really, a lot of people are saying this replaces Bucky, this is going to be played every single time. I don't agree with that. I think some of the other people are coming out of woodwork also saying the same thing, that it's not actually as great as everybody thinks. Reason being, if you think about it logically, so this card is going to come down on 3 because Prince John is a 3-cost card. Unless they give us a cheaper one, you're not going to be able to play this on turn 2. On top of that, if you read the way the ability is worded, it's at the end of your opponent's turn. So when you play this at the end of your opponent's turn, if they have more than 3 cards, they discard, which means they have a chance to react to it. And realistically, if you have 5 or less cards, you are free from this. Like, you don't have to discard because you're probably going to be inking one. Or if you see this card come down, you're definitely inking one, you're definitely playing one, and get yourself down to 3. You don't have to discard anything. And playing a card like this with not really a tempo swing, it's gonna hurt more than it helps. I think it's just forcing your opponent to abide by this hand limit, and your hand limit is 5. That is actually really high, and usually you're not going above that anyway. The only decks that might go above it are, I think, Blue Steel and Ruby Sapphire. And if we see this card being played, we're just going to abide by your rules, right? We're just not going to draw until we are holding a million cards. So overall, in my opinion, really bad card. I won't say really bad, it's mediocre. It's slightly bad, but yeah, I don't see it. But if we see a 1-cost Prince John in the future, this might be a little bit better. Not that much better still, but it's, it's not too bad. As of right now though, I think you just lose tempo playing it. This is your 3-cost play, where Emerald has a lot of really nice 3 drops that you want to drop usually on turn 3. So that's just my opinion. If you don't agree, for sure, let me know down below. But yeah, moving on to the rest of it, we have Little John. He is another one of our vanillas. 04, it's the 04 stat line we were talking about in the Amber tier list. It might be nice. Right now though, it's still vanilla. I'm gonna put it, close to the middle of the C tier list. We have this Shenzi right after my new spot for Zazu, but it is an evasive 2/3, cost 3, 1 lore, and ability while challenging a damaged character. This character gets +2. Yeah, supposedly, pretty good for damaging your opponent's character deck, but I feel like that's so limited as a deck archetype, just because it's reliant on your opponent playing characters, right? If you're playing against a deck that's ramping a little bit, you're just kind of giving them the chance to ramp uninhibited if you're going this strategy. It is nice that it's evasive though. It kind of, is an answer to Diablo on 3 kind of. So it being evasive with 2/3 stat line helps. So yeah, middling C tier here. Merryweather, I like as an effect. It is a 1-cost, 1/2, cost 1, lore for 1, sorry, and ability, when you play this character, you may pay 1 to give the chosen character +2 this turn. This is the same as the Megara that we had in a previous set. It is nice though that it can be played for a 1-cost without the ability. That gives it a little bit of flexibility, makes it a little bit better in my opinion. I also like 1/2 a little bit better than 2/1. Maybe, they're actually kind of interchangeable, maybe not that different, but for 1 cost cheaper, not bad in my opinion. So yeah, very mediocre, but on the upper end of mediocre. Next, we have the Baby Mother Gothel of this set. It's a 2-cost, 1/3 that lures for 1. Ability is the Mother Knows Best, and it's literally the Mother Knows Best card where if you pay 3, you can return chosen character to their player's hand. The only difference is you can't sing this, so effectively, if you want this ability, this will drop as a 5-cost. The reason I love these abilities and how flexible these are, I think this is reserved to Emerald right now, if I remember correctly, but you know, in some of the later colors, maybe there's something that I'm not remembering. But the flexibility is super nice because you can play this on curve. If it's your only 2-drop, you can drop it. But if you top deck this and you know you have enough ink, it's better than if it was just a 2-cost, right? That's what makes it good and makes it a little bit better. Honestly, I might actually bring this up to the top of C tier here because I see some playability there just with that. But yeah, I'm still moving things around. But you know, the more I talk about things, the more my opinions change. But yeah, it's not a bad card, honestly. Maybe it belongs actually in B tier. But I'm committed. You know, I thought this through just a little bit, and just a little bit I thought was enough. But now I'm still changing my mind. But yeah, moving on. I have the Hypnotic Deduction here. I like it. This is almost a reserved and Sapphire ability before, where you get to draw cards, and the ability is draw 3 cards and then put 2 from your hand on top of your deck. This is nice because it is effectively a draw 3. Let's say you're not liking some of the cards in your hand, it is kind of like a draw 3. The only bad part is whatever you don't want is going to the top of your deck, so it's kind of like a invest in now, like you want those cards now kind of thing. But yeah, it is a net 0 though, because you're drawing 3 and putting 2 back, so you're not really drawing any cards. But if you're stuck with some bad cards, maybe this will help. If you can somehow shuffle your deck after that, maybe even better. But those abilities are kind of limited. There's not much that does that in Lorcana currently. But you know, yeah, still reserving my opinion here. It just sounded kind of good off the get-go, but you know, not good enough to enter B tier. But yeah. Wrapping up the C tier, I have Scar, the Vengeful Lion. He's a 4-cost inkable 4/2. He has Ward, he has 1 lore pip, and abilities whenever one of your characters challenges a damaged character, you may draw a card. The reason I'm putting him kind of low here, I mean, he has Ward, which is nice, but as we know from Shirkan in one of the previous sets, I don't think this ability is enough to get it going. It's kind of reliant on your opponent having damaged characters, which, you know, like if people are ramping, that we're not going to get that. The ward is nice, but it still dies to grab your swords, unlike the Shirkan, and the Shirkan we don't see played. So yeah, I'm going to reserve my opinion there. B tier cards, I put the Tropical Rainforest up here. Honestly, just the fact that it gains 1 lore, I think bumped it up from the C tier. I don't think it's an amazing card. I'm kind of, a lot of these cards I think are bumped up on my opinion that Robin Hood looks kind of good. We're gonna see him in some of the higher tiers, but yeah, I could be like wildly wrong here just because of that assumption. But yeah, opposing damage characters gain Reckless. I guess my thought here is if we manage to ping everything, I'm thinking specifically in like Emerald Steel, where like I can drop a Tinkerbell and then the following turn I can drop this, and you know, it's actually not that great because I'm thinking you can give everything Reckless just to stop them all from questing for a turn, which is maybe nice, but against aggro I think they're gonna die to like that kind of like board clearing kind of style anyway. So you know what, maybe I'm actually gonna drop this just because the more I think about it. But yeah, my initial thought was, oh, Tinkerbell will damage everything and then give everything Reckless so they can't quest, and then if you're playing like some kind of like aggro style Emerald Steel, then, or maybe not even aggro, like your Emerald Steel, you get the chance to quest, but then if they all have Reckless, they're probably just going to attack this and get rid of it the next turn. But yeah, anyway, yeah, let's just move on to the next card. The Emerald Chromacon I just have up here just because at least the effect seems better than the other Chromacons, just because it gives you the ability of like when your characters are banished, they return to your hand. This seems like it could be really good in an aggro style deck, just because if you drop this and you quest with everything, it's kind of a threat like, hey, you banish me and everything's gonna come back. Not only that, this is an item, so it's not like a one-time effect. It like stays on the field and keeps going. So this is almost indispensable for aggro, I feel, just because your concern of aggro is you're emptying your hand, and then you run out of things to play. But if you have this card out and you're aggro, you just keep questing. If they banish anything anyhow, it just goes back to your hand. It seems it's not even through challenging, it's just if your character is banished. So even if they board wipe you, everything just returns to your hand, you just play it back next turn. That seems pretty crazy to me. Actually, the more I think about it, I think I'm gonna move this up. So yeah, even looking at it further, I am valuing it more. So I valued it a lot more actually, because I don't know, talking through it, I seem to change my opinion just because I think of new things. But yeah, you know, I'm gonna move it to the middle of B tier. Just I don't know, like it seems pretty good, and we'll take some item removal to get rid of it. But yeah, I don't know, it seems pretty good. It seems like really good for aggro. But yeah, anyway, I have the other Shenzi up here in B tier. She's a 5-cost inkable, 3/6, lures for 1 ability. She gets 1 more attack for every other hyena you have in play. So yeah, it depends on if the hyena deck is good or not. But the other effect is whenever one of your hyena characters challenges a damaged character, gain 2 lore. This is nice for the hyena archetype. It really bolsters it into like not viable but maybe viable, because this is like your ender, right? It turns everything into a super goof where if they challenge, they can gain 2 lore, but it has the caveat that they have to be damaged, which again kind of hurts. It's like I feel like we have to play this in steel where Tinkerbell gives us easy access to that, but we can't just rely on Tinkerbell to win the game here. So I don't know, it seems like we can maybe like fashion like some kind of Robin Hood hyena emerald steel deck. Maybe, but yeah, I don't know, it seemed interesting, like the fact that she alone kind of catapults hyenas into almost maybe being good. I think warrants her a place in B tier. I have both of the baby Clarabelles in B tier as well. The 1 cost has the ability of if you pay 2 more you can remove an item, and the 3 cost has the ability of when you play it, if your opponent has more cards in their hand, you may draw a card. I think these are both really good. Actually, you know, I might swap their places, but my thought here is that the 3 cost is good going second, right? Like if you're doing some kind of aggro style deck, at least keeping draw is good, or like keeping cards in your hand, just because you're emptying super fast, especially if you're playing like some kind of hyper aggro. So not bad. I have her up in B tier just because she goes into the Floodborn pretty well. And the reason I have this 1 cost Clarabelle up here is because I think she is, I want to say she's the first emerald card that has item hate, or if she's not the first, I think she's one of the most effective. It's nice that she can still be dropped on 1. Again, just, you know, sometimes having a 1 drop is indispensable when you don't hit your other 1 drops that you're aiming for. But yeah, I just like the flexibility, and I like the shift because you guys can see the Floodborn that I put in S tier, but yeah, we'll get back to that later. In between them, I have Bonsai, the 2-cost inkable ability. When you play this character, you may exert chosen damage character. I just think this is helpful if this damage archetype is gonna go anywhere. It's nice to exert something to be able to take it out, especially like things that are trying to be kept safe. I just thought maybe it's okay. Depends how this deck does. Again, I'm kind of operating off the idea that this might work, but I kind of did the same thing for Amethyst too, so I'm just gonna keep going with this. But Yago is a really funny card. It's a 4-cost inkable 2/4 evasive ability. When this character quests, you pay 2 less for the next action you play. Yeah, maybe good if you get some kind of action deck rolling. He is evasive, which really helps. He has a good stat line, so yeah, I thought, you know, I'll put him up here. If it ends up being good, it ends up being good. As for the other location, Sherwood Forest, I have it up here in B tier. Again, just because I mean, look, like all the Robin Hoods that are being revealed, I think are pretty good. I have them like high B or A tier, and the ones that we've seen in previous set have been amazing as well. So I think this has some feet to stand on. But the ability of Sherwood Forest is Robin Hoods go here for free, and they gain ward, and they gain a ping ability, which may or may not be helpful, but giving all your Robin Hood's wards seems good, especially if they are some of your lore getters, or you want to shift them into something. I don't know, seems pretty good. I'm gonna put it up here. Again, it depends on if the Robin Hood deck is gonna be good or not. Next in line, I had the Obscuro Sphere, the 1-cost Sphere of Emerald, and this one I'm actually putting in pretty high in the B tier as opposed to some of the other ones we saw. Reason being, the ability is for an additional 2 cost, you banish this item and your characters gain ward until the start of your next turn. This seems pretty good if you are doing some kind of like control style Emerald deck, or maybe even aggro, but it kind of like clinches your victory if you are getting there, which is really nice because save for board wipe, suddenly your characters that are ready are immune, which is amazing. I think it's a really good effect on paper. So yeah, I have it up here. I think it's pretty good. And following that, I do have Ed up here in the B tier. He's a 4 cost uninkable 2/4, lords for 3, and ability damage characters can't challenge this character. Again, if this damage character deck like gets off the ground running, then this is a really good card where it can't be challenged by anything if you get the damage off. I think the only reason I have my reservations about the damage deck is if like Ruby Sapphire gets really good, because they don't like playing characters and then it gets hard to like kind of get going before they ramp up to the board wipe. But hey, maybe the Emerald Chronicon would save you from that, so you know, that's why I think it's a pretty good card. But yeah, the fact that it's a 4 cost and it lords for 3 seems pretty good. If it gets if it does make itself immune, it'll be even better. So yeah, I think it's pretty good, so I'm gonna put it up here. And following that, we have the Robin Hood, the Sneaky Sleuth. I think this is one of my favorite arts of this set. It's by Nicholas Cole, and you know, everything by Nicholas Cole I think I've liked, so I love it. This looks so pretty. But yeah, 5 costs, inkable 3/5. It's a shift, it's a Floodborn. It shifts for 3, and ability is you get 1 more lore pip for each opposing damage character in play. Just seems good. It kind of solidifies the damage archetype if it can even work. No, but yeah, if it does work, this is how it's going to work. We'll have to see if this Hyena and Robin Hood combo works out, or if we're just going with Robin Hood and just, you know, some kind of like staple set going on, if that works or not. But yeah, pretty good. I'm glad it's pretty good because I really like the art. Hopefully it's good enough to play. Kind of entering the A tier though, at the bottom here I have Remember Who You Are. Is a 4 cost uninkable action. Ability, if chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you draw that amount of cards until you match their number. I really like this. The reason being, if you're playing, again, I'm thinking like hyper aggro, so if you're doing some kind of like Emerald, I feel like you have to go into Amber if you're going hyper aggro now because of the Daisy Duck in existence. This kind of beats your reservations, that you don't have to worry about emptying your hand anymore. That's always been hyper aggro's problem, is what happens if I empty my whole hand and then they wipe me. Like if they wipe my board, I just kind of lose. But this saves you, where if you have emptied your hand, they have wiped your board, doesn't really matter. You play this card, you refresh your hand, as long as your opponent has cards at least. But yeah, on paper it seems pretty good. You may be in a situation where like both you and your opponent have ran out of cards, but in that situation you can kind of just hold this until your opponent gets cards back somehow or other. I don't know, it just seems pretty good. It's kind of like fail-safe for the aggro playstyle. Seems like a pretty good card to me. I do have the new legendary Ana up here, maybe contentious, but I really like her flexibility. She's a 2/3 lords for 2 with 3 possible abilities. If you pay 2 more, she's a 3 cost, so if for a cost of 5 she can do one of these 3, and I just like that she can do a bunch of different things, and she has a pretty solid stat line for it. Not amazing, but not bad. And again, she can be played on curve if you need to, but she has a discard effect. If you're kind of going the discard route, you know, she can slot into discard decks pretty well. But it also helps them because, like, you know, if you need the buff in damage, or if you just need to banish a chosen damage character, like I think she does way better than Scroop, because this is like for 5 instead of 6 that Scroop wanted, and Scroop only does like the banish effect instead of the other 2 that this card has. So yeah, I don't know, I think she's pretty good. I have the other 2 Robin Hoods up here in A tier as well. The 2 cost inkable one, it has the ability of when you play it, if your opponent has a damage character, you gain 1 lore. Really simple, really good, I think. Any passive lore gain gets additional points from me, just as a fact, because it's hard to gain lore for free. Usually, you know, you have to play a character and a quest with it, and everything can happen to your character in between, so I just think any passive lore gain is good. And I have the big Robin Hood of this set, of this emerald color, sorry. This is our 9 cost uninkable of the emerald color. He's a 6/6 that lures for 4, and he gets 1 less for, you guessed it, each 1 damage on opposing characters, which actually that can rack up because it's not, you know, each damage character, it's each 1 damage on an opposing character. You can play him for relatively cheap, I think, if you keep your damage like separated. And with like Sherwood Forest, you can ping selectively to get his cost down pretty high, as long as your opponent has high enough health characters to get them down low. But my reasoning for putting it up here is just way better than BLT, which we saw in set 1. It has more stats, it lures for the same, it has ward, and the cost can go down. So I think it is an amazing card. It'll also help this damage archetype get off the ground, I think, because dropping this is hard to deal with. You're gonna have to board wipe it. It has ward. It just, I don't know, this looks really good because of this card and some of the other cards we saw. Maybe like damage archetype has some legs to stand on. Again, the one downfall is Ruby Sapphire, where they're not playing anything, you know, they're just ramping. But I don't know, it looks pretty good outside of that. So we're gonna see how the meta shapes up. But yeah, I have the new song You're Welcome up here, and reason being is I think Emerald has kind of been starved of good songs. I mean, we have some, but this really helps, especially me thinking about like Amber Emerald, just because we want to play the aerial spectacular singer to search for songs and play songs. And really we only had like We Don't Talk About Bruno last set that she can sing like that, it's good. But now we have this song too if we want to, and it's a removal. It has the Yzma effect from one of the last sets, the purple one, where it shuffles something back into their deck and they draw 2 cards. It has the additional, it can also do items and can do locations. So Lucky Dime, we're going back to the deck. That's pretty nice. Yeah, I don't know, pretty good. And the top of A tier, I have the new Floodborn Mother Gothel, just because. So this has also like Lady Tremaine vibes. I mean, also this art is amazing, can I say. It's like, oh geez, like mommy, sorry, no, actually, sorry. But yeah, so 6 cost inkable, 4/6 that lures for 2. She shifts for 4, and when you play this character, your opponent chooses a character to return to their hand. So just kind of like a baby Tremaine effect, where because Tremaine would send them banished into the discard pile, this one will just bounce it back to their hand. Still a really good effect, I think. She has more stats to make up for the fact that she's not banishing, but I don't know, I like it. It's kind of like a control element that helps Emerald, I think. Like, depending on what you're trying to do, like, I think this helps a lot. But yeah, moving up to probably the most contentious thing that I decided is I put this Clarabelle into S tier. You know, I'm gonna try and defend myself, which is, okay, so she shifts for 5, she's a Floodborn. Her ability is, at the end of your turn, if the chosen opponent has more cards in their hand than you, you may draw until you have the same number. So my thought process here is, if I'm playing like hyper aggro, like, or you know, like empty my hand kind of aggro, I thought that this would be a pretty good card. And reason being, like, it kind of goes on tempo not too badly, just because we have 2 decent Clarabelles also. So there's a high chance we shift it on 5. I like the effect being that it happens at the end of your turn. So after playing this card, you know, I immediately get the draw. She has really solid stats, which I like for if we're going some kind of, maybe not even hyper aggro, just some kind of like aggro, normal aggro. I like having like high stats. I think the Ursula from the last set, the Floodboard, kind of showed me that, where it's hard to remove these kind of cards when you've been tackling like aggro this whole game. Yeah, I guess the only problem would be like up at this amount of ink at, you know, like turn 5, maybe the earliest where you can drop this is your opponent might not have as many cards in hand for this to be beneficial. But if this stays on the board, you're just gonna keep drawing as long as you're emptying your hand. So that kind of helps, where you can just keep emptying your hand and redrawing every single turn. I don't know, it sounds pretty good. On paper, it sounds really good, especially if you're playing against like Amethyst or something like that. Like maybe Ruby Sapphire has drawn 1,000,000 cards by that point, right? I don't know. It seems to be a great equalizer, but yeah, I think that's the reasoning. That's all I got. You may agree or disagree with me, but yeah, I think these are my thoughts for Emerald. I think some of these cards are definitely interchangeable. As you can see, I've been changing my mind about some as I've been talking about it, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me know what you think. If you think some of these are wildly incorrect, please do chime in. I would love to hear it. But yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this tier list. I will try to chug out the rest of them pretty soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Ciao.